Coming up on the Northwestern News Report, students react to bullet hitting intercampus shuttle. What you need to know before heading downtown.
And in the spotlight, Northwestern's largest dance show returned to a sold-out Con Auditorium.
Plus, cats and the friendly confines. Northwestern's homecoming game became a home run fan experience at Wrigley Field.
All that and more tonight on the Northwestern News Report.
It's your news.
Right now. Good evening and welcome to the Northwestern News Report. I'm Mila Branson.
And I'm Caitlin Bender-Thomas. We begin tonight with breaking news from Evanston's District 65 schools. The district reached a tentative agreement with the teachers union on a new contract Monday night. This comes after months of negotiations appeared to stall just 1 week ago, with the union saying that talks broke down when the two sides, quote, broached financials. The previous agreement expired in August, and the teachers have been working without a contract for the beginning of the school year. The school district had cited roughly $15 million of necessary budget cuts for why they could not meet the teachers' demands. A federal mediator had been brought in to help broker a new deal. In a joint statement, the district superintendent and president of the teachers union said that the bargaining team will bring the contract to the union first for ratification before passing it on to the school board for approval. However, at last night's school board meeting, union president Tricia Baker said the fight is far from over.
Can't let up. We have to keep working, keep pushing, keep letting our voices be heard. We can't be quiet. We can't sit down. We can't sit back.
NNN will continue to follow this story as new details emerge.
Despite the new contract, there is more turmoil for one of District 65's schools. All 8th graders have decided to leave the embattled Bessie Rhodes School. This comes after the school gave families the choice to remain at Bessie Rhodes, reversing course after initially announcing all 7th and 8th graders would be moved to different schools at the end of the fall trimester. 10 of the 23 8th graders at Bessie Rhodes had decided to stay at the school throughout the school year, but all changed their mind before Monday's deadline. Only 8 of the 41 7th and 8th graders that started the year at the school will remain for the remainder of the school year. For those staying at Bessie Rhodes, District 65 will have members of the district office fill vacancies and provide instruction for the rest of the school year. Bessie Rhodes will permanently shut its doors at the end of the 2025-2026 school year.
Crisis Alternative Response Evanston, also known as CARE, was launched by the city just over 4 months ago, now as an alternative to traditional law enforcement, and it's already having an impact. NNN's Lance Wilhelm checked in on the program and the work it's done so far for the Evanston community. Lance, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Caitlin, I'm here outside of St. Mark's Church on Ridge Avenue, which is home to Interfaith Action Hospitality Center, a group that aims to help a lot of the same folks that CARE is supposed to help. These are people who are on the street, perhaps unhoused, who are not dangerous, but are in need of a little bit of an extra helping hand. Yesterday, I spoke to Susan Murphy, who's the executive director of Interfaith Action, and she told me that without a doubt, CARE has had a massive impact on the community in just its first 4 months of operation. To illustrate that impact, she told me a story of how CARE and her team helped one gentleman who was on the streets of Evanston, causing a bit of a disruption, but who is not dangerous at all. Take a listen.
So we've been working closely with the CARE team to keep up with how is he doing when you see him over there, how is he doing when we see him here, to talk with him. And so it's just been really helpful. So he knows that there's people that he can trust.
And Susan had nothing but great things to say about the CARE program. The one thing she did say, however, is that it's a small team that operates during limited hours, so she hopes to see that operation expand. Caitlin.
Thanks, Lance. CARE can be reached by calling 911, 311, or through the police non-emergency line at 847-866-5000.
And for students at ETHS, Evanston City Council and the Evanston Board of Education are bringing new programs to bolster the community's mental health needs. NNN's Yana Johnson spoke with the founder of one of those programs, as well as some of the Evanstonians these proposed efforts are aimed at supporting.
From local Evanston Township High School to many other community areas, Evanston municipal government is increasing both support and access to mental health care. And Evanstonians, in response, are all here for it. One place where efforts have seen a marked increase? The budget. A $50,000 project proposal from the Department of Health and Human Services is aiming to establish a community-wide mental health first aid program. The program will include training for businesses, churches, long-term care facilities, and any other community center to better prepare Evanston residents to care for those experiencing a mental health challenge.
That is probably a very good use of taxpayer dollars.
There are still some residents who want to see Evanston do more to support mental health among the community.
Realistically, when you said $50K for this kind of initiative, honestly, it might not be enough.
Jose Leon hopes to see more action not just done, but done publicly, particularly when it comes to his children.
I know that my kids in elementary school are learning some things about this, and I think it's nice that the public schools are teaching this to children.
One example of mental health care initiatives in local schools that are not yet largely publicized, Referral GPS.
So Referral GPS works with a multitude of organizations, K through 12 schools, colleges and universities, police departments, with the basic premise of helping people get connected into mental health care.
Takar's service would enable Evanston Township students to have easy access to a variety of mental health services, removing limiting factors such as financial restrictions or language barriers.
There's an incredible amount of people willing to help.
From Evanston, Yana Johnson, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Yana. Referral GPS is just one of the upcoming programs targeting the mental wellness of Evanstonians.
In more local news, Evanston Reparations Committee is looking at the work it has done in the first year of the program. In 2024, the Reparations Fund received about $56,000 in donations and $1 million from Evanston's real estate transfer tax. At their meeting on November 7th, the Reparations Committee broke down what ancestors and direct descendants chose under the restorative housing program. Direct descendants are individuals directly related to Black residents who lived in Evanston from 1919 through 1969. The committee estimates that 6 out of 73 direct descendants used benefits for home repair and renovations totaling $133,000. 70 out of 73 recipients used cash benefits, adding up to about $1,700,000. The estimated total of reparations for direct descendants is about $1.7 million as of November 1st. The committee says it has contacted 132 of 141 adults that lived in Evanston from 1919 to 1969 and faced discriminatory housing practices.
2 weeks after a bullet struck a Northwestern intercampus shuttle, some frequent users are still processing the event. NNN's Zoe Singer spoke to some students to hear their thoughts.
A bullet struck Northwestern's intercampus shuttle near Loyola's Lakeshore campus, November 8th.
I remember thinking, if a bullet came through the window right now, I feel like my head would be in the way.
Nearly 2 weeks later, some students are second-guessing the safety of the shuttle.
I was relying on the fact that it was a safe option and a really easy and accessible one, and I will continue to use it because I have to, but it does make me very scared.
The bus driver sustained minor injuries from shattered glass, but no passengers were physically injured.
I don't think that this was any fault of Northwestern or the bus company or anything like that.
While some students said they feel some anxiety venturing into Chicago, others said they expect exposure to gun violence.
As Americans, we're really desensitized to it because it happens everywhere, every day. And so, naturally, there's going to be a point in your life where it's closer to you and closer to, your circle.
Evanston is a pretty safe place, so I don't want to worry about what happens getting from Evanston to Chicago.
According to Northwestern Chief of Police Bruce Lewis, this was not believed to be a targeted shooting, and both the university and Chicago police departments are working to obtain video footage of the incident.
I just want to know that I can get places safely when I'm just trying to do things for my education, so you don't want to have to worry about getting shot at.
In Evanston, Zoe Singer, Northwestern News Network.
Northwestern's Department of Safety and Security encourages those with information about the incident to contact NUPD at 847-491-3456. Coming up, shake up the stage. NU's largest dance show brought the Boom Shaka to campus last weekend.
Hey guys, I am right here live at the Welsh Ryan Arena for some Tuesday night hoops. Northwestern taking on Montana State. We'll be back for updates in just a bit.
tonight on the Northwestern News Report, fake daily fallout. Charges were dropped against the 2 students allegedly involved in the fall incident. Why the Daily's parent company says they stepped in.
Plus, new leaders. With ASG's presidential elections in the books, we sit down with the incoming co-presidents of Northwestern's student government.
And love is in the air. We take a look at how campus organizations are celebrating.
All that and more tonight on the Northwestern News Report.
It's your news right now. Good evening and welcome to the Northwestern News Report. I'm Ananya Chug.
And I'm Logan Schijano. We begin tonight with an update on the alleged tampering of the Daily Northwestern. Since our last show, the Illinois State's Attorney's Office dropped charges against 2 Northwestern students who were allegedly distributing fake copies of the Daily this fall. The decision comes after the Daily's parent company, the student publishing company, faced pressure to intervene over 70 groups boycotting the Daily for a short time early last week. The students were initially charged with theft of advertising services, a misdemeanor, after creating parody versions of the Daily Northwestern back in October. Those copies contained a headline accusing Northwestern of being complicit in the genocide of Palestinians. The state's attorney's office telling NNN in part, quote, "Our criminal justice system should only be utilized when there is no other recourse for accountability. Northwestern University and campus police are fully equipped to hold individuals accountable, ensuring that such matters are handled in a manner that is both appropriate for the educational context and respectful of students' rights."
The SPC filed the initial complaint with NUPD in the fall. It doubled down on this decision in a February 5th letter published in the Daily, but flipped its position 2 days later. Both the current Daily Edit Board and alumni wrote letters to the SPC board objecting to the prosecution of the 2 students. SPC's chairman, John Byrne, then wrote in a February 7th letter in the Daily Northwestern that the company would ask the state attorney's office to drop the charges. In the letter, Byrne said, quote, "We have been listening to our fellow community members, and they have been heard. We understand and recognize why we need to take action. We hope to heal the hurt and repair these relationships that have been damaged and frayed by our unintentional foray into the criminal justice system." A Northwestern spokesperson told NNN that the university supports the state attorney's decision and that an internal investigation into the matter is still ongoing.
Caleb Sneed and Tyshia Woods will be the next ASG co-presidents after winning the election over the weekend by more than 20 points. Sneed and Woods, both second years, defeated Nicole Medina and Anna Alava in the election. Nearly 1,200 students voted after last year's record low turnout of just 175 students. The Sneed and Woods ticket received 59.6% of the vote, while Medina and Alava got 36.7% of the vote. 3.7% of voters voted no confidence. I spoke with both the incoming co-presidents earlier today about their victory and plans for their first few weeks in office. I'm joined now by co-presidents-elect Caleb Sneed and Tyshia Woods. Thank you so much for joining Northwestern News Network tonight, and congratulations on winning the ASG elections this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So first of all, the elections were over the end of last week. Take me through kind of when you found out that you guys were the presidents-elect, and what was that feeling like for both of you?
Yeah, we were actually at Jabulani when it was happening. So we left right when it was like 6:59, and really just waited for the results to drop. It was kind of a crazy experience because after you figure out that you go into this
literally everyone we know, basically the entire Black community, it was insane.
In McCormick Auditorium, and it was a really interesting experience. But when we found out, it was amazing. We came back and there was everyone was clapping and really just celebrating us. It was a really great moment.
You both were endorsed by the current co-presidents of ASG. What has it been like talking with them, and kind of take me through what that transition will look like for you guys?
I think the process has been really forgiving. It's been nice to have, number one, their support because we've been able to ask them direct questions, figure out where are our gaps in knowledge. We already worked pretty closely, so in terms of workload, the transition's pretty straightforward, but just figuring out what admin do they talk to that we haven't been, introduced to yet and things like that. But I'm really excited. I think our transition is going to be more of in trial and error. We try things. They're still here so they can give us feedback. So I think that structure is going to be really nice. We're all going to get to work together, which is, a huge part of our leadership, which is collaboration. So I'm really excited to keep doing that, yeah.
Yeah, and during our debate, one of the big things specifically that Caleb talked about was, being the chair of finance and securing a bunch of funding, meeting with Schill last year to secure that additional $600,000. And you said during our debate that you have an upcoming meeting with Schill to kind of talk about a similar thing. So just talk about kind of what your relationship has been like with Top-Line administration and what are some of your goals for that meeting?
Yeah. Going into the meeting, our goal is really just to communicate the same that we did last year. So we've already been talking to groups such as Mayfest, A&O, and AUDM to really gather the necessary data so that we can build a proposal. And the relationships that we've been building over the last year with the administration, Schill, Susan Davis, have really been instrumental to understanding what they need from their point of view to really make a sound decision and get student groups the funding they need ahead of time rather than later in the year like it happened last year.
Yeah. Did you do anything to celebrate the win?
Honestly, not really. We kind of just jumped right into work.
Yeah.
But we celebrated together for like 10 minutes.
Actually, yeah.
Well, again, congratulations, and thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ananya?
Northwestern University's Graduate Worker Union is negotiating with the university over compensation and access for international grad students. After winning coverage for dental and vision care, NUGW is calling for increasing the annual compensation from $37,000 to $48,000 annually. NU is proposing a $41,000 annual compensation. It's also calling for the university to do more to help international grad students with their visas. While NUGW has reached tentative agreements on 29 of its 33 proposals with the university, it's keeping the pressure on the university to agree to the final 4 proposals.
This is why we, the union, will have to make some movement to push Northwestern to understand our situation.
Bargaining between NU and NUGW will take place on February 21st. A strike could take place if Northwestern makes a final offer that the union does not accept.
The Ryan Field construction project will now involve Evanston's neighbors to the north. Wilmette is getting involved to ensure that residents are protected during the project. That's because of a new agreement between both towns' leadership. The agreement was officially authorized at the Evanston City Council meeting yesterday. It comes on the heels of Wilmette residents pushing town leadership to launch a lawsuit against Evanston and hold up the construction. Wilmette is dropping that threat now as agreement requires Evanston workers to decrease potential harm to Wilmette residents. Among the many provisions in the agreement, Evanston will ensure that Wilmette residents have someone on site of the construction to answer any of their concerns. Evanston will also conduct a sound study once concerts start to be held at Ryan Field, and the city will install sound measurement devices around the border between Evanston and Wilmette on Isabella Road and collaborate with Wilmette's government on potential sound mitigation efforts.
Lawsuit against the university. Fitzgerald, who was fired on July 10th over allegations of sexual hazing inside the football program, claims that Northwestern and President Michael Schill breached his contract when he was terminated. In today's hearing, Fitzgerald's attorney, Dan Webb, asked the court to set a trial date for December of this year, saying moving past the trial is necessary for Fitzgerald to return to the sidelines as a coach. Northwestern asked the court to start the trial in 2025, saying depositions will take too long to meet a December trial. And after the hearing, the court set a trial date of April 7th through the 18th, despite urging both sides to settle the case. Coming up, it's the Year of the Dragon. We take a look at how Evanston is celebrating the Lunar New Year.
To learn more about a woman found dead at O'Hare Airport. Sources told CBS News Chicago a 57-year-old woman was found dead this morning in an area of Terminal 5 that's not open to the public. She was found trapped on a conveyor belt used to move luggage. We're told the woman was not an airport employee, and it remains unclear how she got into that secure area. Costco is cracking down on sharing membership cards. The retailer announced it will introduce scanning devices at store entrances where members will have to scan their cards, and those without a picture on that card are going to have to show a valid ID. Guests will now need to enter with a card holder in order to shop. Costco said the scanners will be installed in the coming months. A terror plot targeting superstar Taylor Swift's concerts forces the cancellation of her 3 shows in Vienna this weekend. Austrian officials arrested arrested 2 men this morning. They say one suspect pledged his allegiance to the terrorist organization ISIS in July. Police say they found chemical substances at his home. All tickets for the canceled shows will be refunded.
Report concludes famine is widespread across Sudan. More than 26 million people face severe hunger, 1 in 2 struggling to put enough food on the table. The country has been fighting a civil war since April of last year, making it difficult for humanitarian aid to reach those in need.
A child is in the hospital this afternoon after being hit by an SUV while on their bike. You can see that bike laying on the street. This is at Lake and Pleasant View in unincorporated McHenry. And we don't know the extent of the injuries, but the child was taken to the hospital in a medical helicopter. The driver of the SUV that hit the child did stop. No word on what led to that crash.
Former President Donald Trump will meet with the FBI as part of their investigation into the assassination attempt. That's just one of the things the FBI revealed today. They're also now saying the gunman bought gun parts and chemicals to make explosives using an encrypted email to conceal his identity. And they say he researched the attempted assassination of Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico. Fico was shot and severely wounded in May.